The Meghan Markle yacht girl claims simply will not go away. And you know I've spoken about this before, but until now, no one in the mainstream media has been brave enough to go there. Well, that has just changed.
Julie Burchill is stepping right into the spotlight and turning the temperature up, putting fresh attention on rumors about Meghan Markle's past. But she's moving in a sharp, deliberate way that feels planned down to the detail. It's not loud for no reason. It comes across controlled, like she knows exactly what reaction she wants.
Now they're allowed to start, questioning things about Meghan that we all have some evidence of. I mean, what is she doing on the yacht? Why did David Boies want to question her? Why is she with Karina Shuliak?
By placing this in The Spectator, one of the UK's oldest and most respected outlets, the whole vibe shifts instantly. This isn't just online chatter or random gossip floating around anymore. It suddenly carries weight and feels harder to ignore or dismiss. It now feels more official, more structured, and way more difficult to brush aside like it's nothing. This move ties straight into the growing buzz around Meghan Markle's so-called Girls' Weekend.
Why are there people in Meghan's social circle, that are in the same social circle as Andrew? You have to question that, and you have to address it, and it has to be something that we continue to talk about, because there is something there that we need to find the missing pieces to, because I believe a lot of it was scrubbed off of the internet.
A topic that's been quietly circulating for a while, but never pushed this openly into the mainstream like this. Now, it's not just whispers, it's being nudged into full public view, with a recognized media figure putting this out there and signaling she wants to ask Meghan directly about these rumors. The tension rises fast. It makes it seem like the story is entering a new, more serious phase where people start paying closer attention. At the same time, curiosity keeps building because there are still gaps, unanswered questions, and unclear details about that chapter of Meghan's life that people keep circling back to again and again. It's not just curiosity driving this either. It's that lingering feeling that something hasn't been fully explained. And that's what keeps the conversation alive and constantly evolving. People aren't just watching, they're questioning more and more as things unfold. Then you bring in David Boies, the former lawyer for the late Virginia Giuffre, and things take a serious turn.
And the line that really, really interested me was not a question about whether she was a yacht girl, but just simply stating as a fact and then asking, was it double figures or triple? In terms of how many yachts she was a guest on before she met Prince Harry.
I just can't wait to get all the details. But the one thing that struck me about this article is about how they were going to try to show Meghan as someone who has been wronged.
Reports have claimed he pushed for Meghan Markle to give a deposition about what she may have known regarding Andrew Mountbatten Windsor's behavior, and that detail alone raises the stakes fast. Now, this isn't just talk or online speculation. It starts brushing up against legal territory, potential testimony, and real public interest. When a situation crosses that line, people stop scrolling and start paying close attention, and that's exactly why this topic keeps building momentum and sparking intense debate everywhere. Then there's Gemma, the person reportedly organizing this entire situation, and her financial struggles add another layer to the story. Reports say she's dealing with major debt, even declaring bankruptcy with figures said to be around 700,000 Australian dollars. That detail shifts the tone completely. It makes the whole thing feel less like a passion-driven project and more like a high-pressure move to recover financially, which only adds more tension and raises even more questions. And when you line that up with the ongoing chatter that Meghan Markle is aiming to lock in major income streams, it starts painting a picture where money sits right at the center of everything happening here. That connection is hard to ignore, and people are definitely noticing it more. That's where Julie Burchill's commentary really cuts through the noise, because she puts it in a sharp, attention-grabbing way, saying, Meghan has moved from royalty into the world of pay-by-the-hour celebrity. That line sticks because it hits directly on how this whole situation looks from the outside, and it's the kind of statement that gets people talking fast. Suddenly, this exclusive Sydney event doesn't feel like a traditional royal-style appearance anymore. It starts to look more like a premium experience being sold at a high price. According to reports, Meghan is set to host a women-only weekend retreat during her upcoming Australia trip, with tickets priced at a striking 2,699 Australian dollars. That's not casual pricing at all. That's luxury-level access. And it instantly raises expectations about what people are actually getting for that kind of money. The event is being promoted as a girls' weekend like no other, set inside the 5-star Intercontinental Sydney at Coogee Beach, which adds to that polished, high-end image being pushed hard. And the host of the Her Best Life podcast is clearly positioning Meghan as an inspiring figure, openly saying she admires what she has endured and how she represents resilience. With the idea that a woman can be pushed down and still rise, that message sits right at the center of how this event is being marketed. It leans heavily into themes of empowerment, healing, and personal growth, creating a feel-good image that's meant to pull people in fast. But at the same time, there's a clear contrast between that message and the reality of an exclusive 300-person event that costs thousands to attend. That gap is hard to ignore, and it raises questions about who this experience is really for. It's being described as an intimate fireside chat with Meghan, but realistically, with 300 attendees in the room, it's going to feel much more like a stage talk than a real back-and-forth conversation. That promise of closeness starts to feel a bit stretched. The schedule also includes sound healing, meditation, manifestation sessions, and group discussions, all carefully designed to build a certain atmosphere of reflection and connection. Every detail seems planned to shape a specific experience. For some, that might sound appealing, but for others, it can come across as overly curated and even a bit repetitive, especially when it's packaged into such a high-priced experience. There's also a strong push on branding, from curated moments to themed messaging about reconnecting, recharging, laughing, and learning. And having serious fun is part of the pitch too, which sounds polished but also very structured at the same time. Even the smaller details like how drinks or keepsakes are presented add to the feeling that this is a carefully designed environment built to feel exclusive and unforgettable. Julie Burchill takes a more skeptical angle, suggesting that truly great social experiences usually feel natural and unforced. In her view, this kind of setup risks feeling overly focused on image and presentation instead of creating a relaxed, organic vibe people can actually sink into. Instead, it can come across like a highly managed experience where everything follows a script, leaving less room for real, spontaneous moments. That's the part that makes some people pause and question how genuine it will feel. One of the biggest selling points is the promise of an in-person conversation with Meghan, but expectations there can vary a lot. In large, structured events like this, audience interaction is usually limited, which raises real questions about how personal or open the experience will actually be for attendees paying premium prices. At the same time, the event does include lighter elements like a dance floor and social gatherings, clearly designed to balance out the more serious, introspective sessions. Those moments might end up standing out the most because they give people a chance to relax and step away from the more structured parts of the schedule. What really stands out in all of this is how Meghan is being positioned. Not just as a public figure, but as the centerpiece of a paid experience where access itself becomes part of the product. From photo opportunities to live appearances, every element reinforces the idea that this is less about a traditional royal presence and more about carefully curated celebrity engagement. And that's exactly where the conversation keeps circling back, because people are noticing that shift more and more. It's no longer just about status. It's about access, presentation, and the experience being sold around it. This move from royalty to a more commercial, event-driven image is what's driving so much attention, debate, and strong reactions from both supporters and critics. Everyone seems to have an opinion, and the discussion just keeps getting louder. Now, this is where things take a sharp turn because even the Wall Street Journal is stepping into the conversation with a take that's raising eyebrows everywhere. This isn't some small outlet. This is a major mainstream publication, and it's openly exploring the idea that Prince William and Prince Harry might only reconnect under one very specific and dramatic scenario. What makes it even more surprising is that the piece hints at something people usually avoid saying outright. That at some point, Harry and Meghan could separate, and that moment could be what forces the brothers back into contact. The report highlighted by Daniela Elser from news.com.au frames this as a shocking scenario, especially after what's believed to be 1,284 days of silence between William and Harry. That number alone speaks volumes about how deep the divide really is. The idea of them casually messaging each other again or sitting down for a relaxed conversation feels almost impossible right now, and that's exactly why this specific scenario is getting so much attention. It cuts through because it feels so unlikely under normal circumstances. According to the Wall Street Journal, based on more than a dozen interviews with people connected to the couple, there's a growing sense that things behind the scenes may not be as perfect as they appear in public. That contrast is what's pulling more eyes into the story. While Harry is said to be settled into family life in Montecito, doing school runs and continuing his advocacy work, there's also talk that he has been feeling isolated and uncertain about his long-term direction. That adds a more complicated layer to the picture people usually see. At the same time, Meghan is described as focusing on new projects and opportunities, creating a noticeable contrast that people are starting to pick up on more and more. That difference in direction is becoming harder to ignore. It gets even more layered when you look at Harry's personal circle, because reports suggest he's only still in contact with one of the men who stood by him as a best man at his wedding. That detail really stands out, especially considering how large and close his circle once seemed. All of this adds to a growing picture of distance, not just from his family, but from parts of his old life as well. Then there's the situation with their Archewell Foundation, which was reportedly dissolved in December, catching staff off guard and leaving even more questions about what the couple is building together moving forward. When you combine that with the idea that they may not have as many shared projects right now, it feeds into a bigger narrative that things could be shifting behind the scenes in ways the public hasn't fully seen yet. That sense of change is what keeps people watching closely. But the most explosive part of this entire report comes right at the end, and it's what really has people talking everywhere. This is where the tone shifts fast and the stakes suddenly feel much higher. The Wall Street Journal points out that if Harry were ever to remarry, he would need formal consent from the monarch at the time, which could be King William. That single detail turns what seems like a personal situation into something much bigger and far more serious. Now it's not just about a potential new marriage, it becomes a constitutional and royal matter, raising the pressure in a major way. Because if that moment ever came, it would force direct communication between the brothers after years of silence, and that alone is enough to grab attention. On top of that, it could have implications for titles and royal status, adding yet another layer of consequence to an already intense situation. It's not just personal, it's institutional too. What makes this even more striking is that a publication like the Wall Street Journal is openly entertaining this possibility. That move pushes something that mostly lived in speculation straight into mainstream conversation. That's exactly why reactions are so strong right now. Whether it ever happens is a completely different question, but the fact that it's even being discussed seriously shows just how much the narrative around Harry and Meghan keeps evolving, and how unpredictable the next chapter could really be. Prince Harry's court case is throwing even more drama into the spotlight, and Charlotte Griffiths has become a seriously key figure right in the middle of it all. This twist is grabbing attention fast, and it's only making the situation feel more intense. What really makes this stand out is that Griffiths, the Mail on Sunday's editor-at-large and co-host of Palace Confidential, has recently been linked to coverage that many people saw as more favorable to Harry and Meghan than expected. That alone raised eyebrows, but now things have taken another turn. Even with that angle, Harry is still challenging her account in court, which makes the entire clash feel even messier and far more personal than before. It's no longer just media coverage, it's turning into a direct dispute. And Charlotte Griffiths is not just some random name caught up in this story. She's a well-connected media figure with deep ties in royal and society reporting, and that's exactly why her testimony is pulling so much focus right now. For a long time, Harry has pushed back against claims that they had any real personal connection, including suggestions that they communicated through Facebook or that he shared his private phone number. But now Griffiths has come forward with a much more detailed version of events, and her account is putting serious pressure on that denial. The key issue in this dispute seems to come down to the details, because Harry's side appears to focus on technical differences in how earlier claims were described. According to Griffiths, the real question isn't about perfectly matching labels, it's about whether there was any contact or social overlap at all, and she says there absolutely was. Griffiths has made it clear that she never claimed a Facebook account used a specific name, only that numbers were exchanged through Facebook and that communication did happen. That distinction is important, and she's standing firm on it. Because once you look at it that way, the argument shifts away from minor technical details and goes straight back to the bigger question. Were they actually in contact or not? That's the point that really matters in this dispute. In her witness statement, Griffiths described being invited to an after-party connected to Prince Harry's circle back in 2012. She explained that after a night hike with Arthur Landon, a film producer and one of Harry's longtime friends, things moved quickly from there. She told the court that Landon said Harry was staying at the flat and that the gathering was already underway, adding that if she arrived first, Harry would be the one to let her in. That detail alone makes the situation feel much more direct and personal. Griffiths said the music was loud, no one could hear the doorbell, and she was advised to call and text so she could get inside. These are the kinds of details that make the story feel vivid and hard to brush aside. She also pointed out that the timing stuck with her because it was around Trooping the Color, and people found it amusing that Harry had reportedly stayed up all night, despite having royal duties the next morning. According to her account, there was even joking about whether they should all go watch the event after barely getting any sleep at all. Those small, almost casual details are exactly why her testimony is pulling so much attention. They make the story feel specific, personal, and tied to a real moment in time. Griffiths also explained that she moved in similar social circles for years, having attended the University of Leeds at the same time as Harry's former girlfriend, Chelsea Davy, and later mixing in high society spaces like polo events and West London nightlife. That background adds another layer, showing that being around Harry's circle wasn't unusual for her at all. It paints a picture of overlapping worlds rather than something distant or hard to believe. That's what's making people look at this more closely. It feels grounded instead of exaggerated. What really makes this explosive is that court testimony carries serious weight, and any witness making false claims under oath would be taking a huge legal risk. That reality alone raises the tension and makes this part of the case feel much more intense. That's why so many people are following this closely, because the stakes are clearly high and the details matter more than ever. The central issue now isn't just a minor disagreement over wording, it's whether the broader claim holds up. Did Charlotte Griffiths and Prince Harry actually know each other socially, communicate, and cross paths in ways that have been downplayed? That question sits right at the center of this courtroom clash, and it's exactly why the situation has turned into such a major talking point. What really adds another layer to this whole situation is that Charlotte Griffiths didn't just defend herself. She used this moment to show exactly how she separates her personal life from her professional role. And she backed it up with a very specific example in court. That move instantly makes her argument feel more deliberate and calculated. She explained that even though she moved in similar social circles as Prince William and Prince Harry, she understood where the line was and made a clear choice not to cross it. That distinction becomes a key part of how she's framing her credibility. Griffiths pointed to a moment that could have easily turned into a major headline. She said she attended a country house gathering where Prince William mentioned that Princess Catherine wouldn't be there because she was dealing with morning sickness. At the time, news of Catherine's pregnancy would have been huge, front-page level information that could have spread instantly. But instead of publishing it, Griffiths chose to hold back. She made it clear, saying, "I draw a line between my professional and own personal life," and explained that she deliberately kept that information private even though it meant missing out on a massive scoop. That decision stands out even more when you consider that St. James's Palace only confirmed the pregnancy days later, after Catherine was admitted to hospital. So she's essentially saying she had that information early and still chose not to use it. She presents that as proof that she respects boundaries and values trust over headlines, and it directly supports her claim that she wasn't blurring lines or building connections just for attention. She also added that her then editor, Geordie Greig, now editor of The Independent, was furious when he found out, because from a newsroom perspective, that was a massive story to miss. That detail adds real tension, showing there were actual professional consequences to her decision, not just something being explained away after the fact. During the case, David Sherborne challenged her account and suggested she had made up the story about Catherine's pregnancy to exaggerate her links to the royal family. Griffiths pushed back firmly, saying that claim was not true. And this is where things get even more serious because everything is being said under oath with real legal stakes attached. The key issue here is simple but intense. If her account were false, it could potentially be challenged by others involved, including her former editor. That's what makes this moment in court stand out so much, because it's not just about one story anymore. It's about credibility, boundaries, and whether her long-standing connection to royal circles is genuine or being questioned under serious legal pressure. That's why this case is grabbing so much attention right now, and it doesn't look like the conversation is slowing down anytime soon. If you've been following this, drop your thoughts in the comments, hit like, share this with others, and don't forget to subscribe for more updates as this story keeps unfolding.